Peace for my anxious mind does not arrive suddenly, and it is not found in some faraway place. It begins with the awareness that my thoughts do not have to control me. For too long, I allowed racing worries to dictate the rhythm of my life. Every noise in my head seemed louder than the voice of my own truth. Anxiety whispered that I was weak, that I was incapable, that I was stuck forever in this cycle of restlessness. But the deeper truth is that peace is not something I need to search for outside. Peace is already present, waiting beneath the surface of fear. The first step in calming an anxious mind is noticing when fear takes the lead. When we learn to see our thoughts as passing clouds instead of permanent truths, we begin to loosen the grip anxiety has on us. There was a time when every challenge triggered a storm of questions. What if I fail? What if I embarrass myself? What if I lose what I love most? Those questions grew louder each day until they became a constant background noise. But no matter how loud fear becomes, the practice of slowing down allows us to respond instead of react. Breathing deeply, taking time to ground ourselves in the present moment, we realize that fear does not predict the future, it only mirrors the uncertainty of the present. And the present is where our strength actually lives. Peace does not come from ignoring anxiety or pretending it doesn't exist. It comes from facing it directly, with courage, and reminding ourselves that we are not the same as the thoughts running through our heads. I can say, my mind is anxious, but I am not anxiety itself. This separation gives me room to breathe, room to choose, and within that choice lies the beginning of freedom. When we name what is happening inside us, it loses some of its power. Anxiety thrives in silence, but honesty invites healing. Healing the anxious mind is a daily process. It requires gentleness, patience, and practice. Some days are heavy, and thoughts feel endless. Other days are lighter, and peace feels natural. Both are part of the journey. Too often, we expect ourselves to be instantly free from worry, and when anxiety returns, we believe we have failed. But peace grows slowly, like a seed that needs water and sunlight. Each small act of self-care, each moment we choose compassion over criticism, strengthens our ability to remain calm in the face of fear. In the middle of struggle, I learned that anxiety cannot survive where presence exists. The more I anchored myself in the current moment through breathing, grounding, speaking kindly to myself, the less power anxiety held over me. And though it may never fully disappear, its grip loosened. Peace is not the absence of challenges. It is the ability to meet them without losing yourself in panic. Peace is the steady reminder that I am still here, still breathing, still capable of moving forward no matter how loud my fears try to shout. This awareness did not appear overnight. It grew through practice, through failure, through returning again and again to the truth that my anxious thoughts are not permanent realities. Every moment I chose calm over chaos, I built strength inside myself. Every time I paused before reacting, I reminded my mind that it was not in control, I was. The anxious mind may still rise, but peace rises with it, stronger and more enduring. When we decide to create peace within our anxious mind, we do not wait for perfect conditions. We begin exactly where we are. In the middle of messy days, uncertain futures, and restless nights, peace can still be chosen. It is not a reward for having everything figured out. It is the foundation that helps us move through the unknown. Choosing peace in small ways creates space for greater calm later. And slowly, the mind learns, I am safe in this moment. What I discovered is that the anxious mind is not an enemy, it is a teacher. It reveals where we need gentleness, where we need to slow down, where we need to let go. Instead of fighting against it endlessly, I began listening, and in listening, I found wisdom. Anxiety showed me the value of stillness, the necessity of presence, and the power of perspective. It forced me to strengthen the voice inside that says, I am more than my worry. And through that realization, I discovered that peace is not a destination, it is a daily practice of courage. And so, as I continue this journey, I remind myself, Peace is not about silencing every anxious thought, but about learning how to live fully, even when those thoughts appear. It is about remembering that I am not powerless, that I have the strength to direct my energy toward healing instead of fear. Every choice to breathe, every step taken with intention, every moment I refuse to surrender to panic, builds a foundation of calm that cannot be shaken easily. And this foundation is what transforms an anxious mind into one that knows peace is always possible. This foundation of calm becomes stronger when we begin to question the stories anxiety tells us. For years, I believed every fearful thought without hesitation. I thought that if my mind was warning me, it must be the truth. But peace began to grow when I realized not every thought deserves belief. An anxious mind often imagines the worst outcome, but imagination is not destiny. By learning to pause and ask, is this real or is this fear speaking? I opened a door to clarity. Peace enters when truth replaces assumption. Anxiety feeds on uncertainty, but peace is sustained by clarity. When we practice distinguishing between facts and fears, we regain balance. The fact may be that tomorrow is unknown, but the fear may insist tomorrow will bring disaster. The fact may be that someone is quiet, but the fear imagines they are against us. By separating fact from fear, we refuse to let assumptions govern our choices. This daily practice does not eliminate anxiety, but it reduces its power. Peace grows whenever we choose reality over distortion. There is also strength in learning that we do not need to control everything to feel safe. Anxiety thrives on control. It convinces us that unless every detail is managed, something will collapse. But peace does not demand control. Peace asks for surrender to the present moment. I cannot predict every outcome, and I cannot carry the weight of every possibility, but I can decide how I will respond right now. That choice is powerful enough to restore calm. The anxious mind looks ahead with dread, but the peaceful mind stays here, reminding itself that this moment is manageable. In truth, peace is less about erasing anxiety and more about learning how to live alongside it without letting it rule. There are days when thoughts still rush in, when worry still tries to dominate, but I remind myself that these thoughts do not define who I am. They are simply waves that rise and fall. I do not need to follow every thought, nor do I need to wrestle with every doubt. I can let them pass, while holding on to the certainty that my worth and strength remain unshaken. Healing also means creating habits that support a calmer mind. Resting when I am tired, choosing nourishing words instead of harsh self-criticism, setting healthy boundaries, and surrounding myself with supportive voices. All of these choices reinforce peace. An anxious mind often resists stillness, but stillness is necessary for healing. By slowing down, I remind my nervous system that safety exists here and now. In stillness, I can listen to my own needs more clearly, instead of being drowned out by panic. It is important to remember that peace is not achieved in isolation from reality. It is practiced within reality. Bills still need to be paid, challenges still arise, relationships still require effort, but peace equips us to face these realities without being consumed by them. Instead of collapsing under pressure, we meet it with steadiness. Instead of rushing into panic, we take time to breathe, think, and choose our response. This steadiness does not mean life becomes easy. It means we become more resilient. Anxiety often convinces us that we are alone in our struggle, that no one understands the weight of our mind. But peace reminds us that millions of people fight the same battle. Reaching out, sharing, and asking for help are not signs of weakness, but of strength. When we open ourselves to connection, we reduce isolation, and when isolation fades, healing becomes more possible. Peace thrives in community, in the reminder that others have walked through anxiety and found calm, and so can we. As this journey continues, I understand that every small act of courage counts. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to move forward even when fear exists. Each time I make a phone call despite worry, each time I walk into a room despite nerves, each time I sleep despite racing thoughts, I build resilience. Peace does not come from never feeling fear again. It comes from proving, again and again, that fear cannot stop me. Over time, this quiet repetition shapes the anxious mind into one that trusts itself more deeply. Gradually, peace becomes the new pattern. Where once anxiety rushed to fill every silence, now calm has space to breathe. Where once panic dictated decisions, now presence guides the way. This transformation is not sudden, and it is not flawless, but it is real. The anxious mind is no longer the only voice speaking. Peace has found its place, steady and unwavering. And even when anxiety returns, as it sometimes does, it no longer overwhelms me in the same way. For I have learned that peace is not fragile, it endures. And so, as I continue to grow, I remind myself daily, I do not need to be fearless to be free. I need only to be faithful to the practices that ground me, the truths that steady me, and the choices that build peace step by step. My anxious mind may whisper doubt, but my spirit responds with calm. My anxious mind may predict failure, but peace assures me of resilience. And in this conversation between fear and calm, I choose to listen to the voice that brings healing. This choice, repeated every day, shapes my mind into one that knows lasting peace is possible. This choice, repeated every day, slowly reshapes how the mind functions. Where once anxious patterns controlled every response, new pathways of calm begin to form. Consistency is the key. Peace grows stronger, not in one dramatic breakthrough, but in the quiet discipline of showing up for yourself again and again. Each morning when I decide to breathe instead of panic, each evening when I reflect instead of spiral, I am teaching my mind a new way of being. Over time, these small choices build into a steady rhythm that anxiety cannot easily interrupt. As the rhythm develops, confidence begins to grow. Confidence is not arrogance or denial. It is the steady belief that I can face what comes without collapsing. The anxious mind often convinces us we are powerless, but peace teaches us otherwise. Even in moments of discomfort, even when thoughts try to rush in, I now know that I have tools to respond. This inner assurance is what transforms fear into strength. The more I practice, the more I trust myself. And the more I trust myself, the less power anxiety holds. Trust is vital because anxiety thrives where trust is absent. If I do not trust myself, I believe every doubtful thought. If I do not trust life, I fear every unknown. Building trust requires time and patience, but it is possible. I build trust by keeping promises to myself, resting when I said I would, completing small tasks, even when I don't feel like it, speaking kindly to myself instead of tearing myself down. Each fulfilled promise reinforces the message, I can rely on myself. This reliability is the soil where peace continues to grow. Peace also demands that I release perfection. Anxiety often insists that nothing I do is enough, that I must fix every flaw before I am worthy of rest. But peace whispers that I am already enough as I am, even as I grow and change. Releasing perfection does not mean neglecting growth. It means accepting that growth is a process, not a finished product. I do not need to achieve flawless control of my mind to experience calm. I only need to be willing to accept myself with compassion, flaws included. This acceptance quiets the endless demands anxiety tries to impose. It is also essential to create an environment that supports peace. The mind is shaped not only by thoughts, but also by surroundings. When I spend time in noisy, chaotic spaces filled with negativity, my anxiety intensifies. But when I create environments that nurture calm through quiet, order, uplifting words, supportive relationships, my mind feels lighter. Peace is not only an internal practice, but an external one too. By shaping my world with intention, I reinforce the calm I want to feel inside. The process of healing an anxious mind is not linear. Some days bring setbacks, and that is normal. What matters most is not perfection, but persistence. When I stumble, I remind myself that one difficult day does not erase the progress I've made. Returning to peace is always possible, no matter how far anxiety seems to pull me away. This understanding protects me from discouragement and strengthens my ability to keep moving forward. Through this process, I have also learned the value of gratitude. Gratitude shifts focus from what is missing to what is present. An anxious mind often obsesses over what could go wrong, but gratitude redirects attention toward what is already right. By listing small blessings, breath in my lungs, supportive people, opportunities to grow, I anchor myself in reality. Gratitude and anxiety cannot coexist fully. One displaces the other. And when gratitude takes root, peace naturally expands. Another vital practice is rest. Anxiety thrives when the body is exhausted and the mind is overworked. For years, I neglected rest, believing productivity was more important than peace, but exhaustion always amplified worry. Now, I understand that rest is not laziness, it is essential care. Sleeping enough, pausing during the day, stepping away from constant noise, these choices recharge the mind and body, giving me strength to face challenges calmly. A rested mind is a resilient mind, and resilience is what sustains peace. Forgiveness also plays a role in this journey. Anxiety often clings to regrets about the past or fears about the future. Forgiving myself for mistakes, forgiving others for their failures, and choosing to release what I cannot change has lightened my mental load. Forgiveness is not about forgetting, it is about refusing to let past pain dictate my present. Each act of forgiveness clears space for peace to take root. Without forgiveness, anxiety circles endlessly around old wounds. With forgiveness, the cycle begins to break. As I continue to choose these practices, I notice a transformation. The anxious mind that once felt uncontrollable now feels manageable. Peace is no longer an occasional visitor, but a growing presence. It does not mean that fear has vanished, but it does mean fear no longer dominates every decision. I am beginning to live with a steadier heart, a clearer focus, and a stronger spirit. And though anxiety may still appear, it arrives in a world where peace already stands guard. The journey is ongoing, but the direction is clear. Every step toward self-awareness, self-compassion, trust, and gratitude strengthens the peace within me. I may not control every thought that arises, but I control what I nurture, and I choose to nurture calm, clarity, and resilience. In this way, my anxious mind is no longer a prison, it is a place being transformed, slowly and surely, into a sanctuary of peace. This sanctuary of peace does not eliminate the challenges of life, but it changes how I meet them. Where, before every difficulty felt like a crisis, now I approach them with steadier eyes. Anxiety may still whisper doubts, but my response is different. Instead of running from discomfort, I learn to stay present with it, knowing that every challenge faced without panic strengthens the calm I have cultivated. The mind adapts when it is trained, and each practice of choosing peace over fear reshapes it further. As this transformation deepens, I see how important self-talk becomes. Words have weight, and the language I use toward myself shapes my inner world. When my anxious mind repeats harsh judgments, my peace weakens. But when I deliberately choose words of kindness, reminding myself of progress, affirming my worth, I create a foundation that supports calm. Speaking gently to myself is not weakness, it is strength. For years, I believed criticism would make me stronger, but it only made me more afraid. Now I know that compassion builds resilience, while judgment fuels anxiety. Alongside words, the practices of mindfulness continue to play a crucial role. Paying attention to the present moment, without judgment, has become one of the strongest tools for calming my thoughts. Whether I am eating, walking, or simply breathing, focusing on what is happening right now prevents my mind from being consumed by what might happen tomorrow. Anxiety thrives on tomorrow. Peace thrives on now. Every time I redirect my attention back to the present, I reclaim my power from fear. But mindfulness alone is not enough. Without discipline, discipline means committing to the practices that create peace, even when I don't feel like it. The anxious mind resists discipline because fear prefers chaos. Yet the more I show up for meditation, journaling, exercise, or simply moments of stillness, the more natural peace becomes. Discipline is not about rigidity, it is about consistency. Each act of discipline says, I am committed to healing, even on difficult days. This quiet commitment transforms anxiety's grip into something I can manage. The journey toward peace also requires patience. Anxiety is impatient by nature. It demands quick answers, instant solutions, constant certainty. But peace moves at a slower pace. Patience teaches me to wait without panic, to rest without guilt, to trust without demanding immediate results. It is not easy to sit with the unknown, but the more I practice patience, the less urgency fear holds over me. Patience allows me to breathe in the middle of uncertainty and remain steady when life does not provide fast resolutions. Another element that strengthens this process is self-awareness. Without awareness, anxiety runs unchecked. But when I observe my patterns, the triggers that cause worry, the situations that amplify restlessness, I gain the ability to respond more wisely. Awareness is like turning on a light in a room. Suddenly I can see what was previously hidden. With this clarity, I can make better choices, stepping back from toxic environments, setting boundaries, choosing healthier routines. Awareness does not prevent challenges, but it prevents me from being blindsided by them. Boundaries themselves are an essential part of peace. For too long, my anxious mind tried to please everyone, saying yes to demands, even when I was overwhelmed. But peace requires the courage to say no to relationships that drain my energy, no to habits that feed my fear, no to responsibilities that are not truly mine. Each boundary protects my mental space, giving me room to breathe. Far from being selfish, boundaries are acts of respect for myself and for others. They create the conditions in which peace can thrive. The more I practice these principles, the more I notice shifts not only in my mind, but also in my body. Anxiety does not live only in thoughts. It lives in tension, in tightness, in restlessness. Peace, on the other hand, softens the body. Breathing deep, moving with intention, resting adequately, all of these practices allow peace to flow through the physical as well as the mental. This connection reminds me that healing is holistic. I cannot separate mind from body. Both must be cared for to sustain calm. There is also wisdom in embracing simplicity. Anxiety complicates everything, turning small tasks into overwhelming burdens. But when I simplify by focusing on one step at a time, by reducing unnecessary noise, by decluttering my commitments, peace becomes more natural. Simplicity does not mean lack, it means clarity. It means knowing what truly matters and letting go of the rest. In this clarity, my anxious mind finds relief because it no longer has to juggle endless details. Peace flourishes in simplicity. Finally, I recognize that peace requires trust not only in myself, but in life itself. Trusting that even when I cannot see the full picture, there is meaning in the process. Trusting that setbacks do not erase progress. Trusting that healing is possible, even when it feels slow. This trust is not blind, it is built on evidence. I have survived moments I once thought unbearable. I have overcome fears that once seemed permanent. Each time I endure, I gather proof that I can trust the process. This trust quiets the anxious mind and strengthens the peaceful one. Through words, mindfulness, discipline, patience, awareness, boundaries, rest, simplicity, and trust, I continue to build a life where peace becomes stronger than anxiety. It is not that anxiety never returns, it is that I now have a foundation solid enough to remain steady when it does. I have proven to myself that peace is possible, that peace is real, that peace belongs to me. And this knowledge is what allows me to keep moving forward, even on difficult days, with confidence that my anxious mind no longer defines who I am. Through life, I no longer approach each day as a battlefield, but as a place where growth can happen. This shift does not erase difficulty, but it changes how I experience it. I have learned that peace is not fragile, it is steady, and it grows stronger each time I choose it over fear. With each decision, knowing that my anxious mind no longer defines who I am allows me to move differently to remain calm. I am shaping a new identity, one that is rooted in clarity, steadiness, and resilience. Resilience becomes the natural outcome of these choices. Resilience is not about never being shaken, it is about rising after being shaken. Each time anxiety tries to take hold and I respond with calm, I strengthen my capacity to endure. This endurance is not cold or rigid, it is flexible, willing to bend without breaking. In this way, resilience and peace work together. Resilience protects peace during challenges, and peace strengthens resilience during recovery. The anxious mind loses its dominance when resilience takes its place. A key part of building resilience is consistency. Peace cannot be sustained through random effort. It must be practiced daily. Small, consistent habits like beginning the day with intention, pausing to breathe before reacting, writing down reflections at night, create a rhythm that stabilizes the mind. Over time, these rhythms replace the chaos that anxiety once thrived on. Consistency assures me that even when I feel uncertain, I have practices to return to. This assurance reduces fear and makes peace the natural state instead of the exception. With consistency comes structure, and structure brings balance. An anxious mind often lives in extremes: too much worry, too little rest, constant pressure, no time for renewal. But structure provides harmony. By balancing work and rest, solitude and connection, silence and expression, I maintain equilibrium. Balance does not mean avoiding all stress. It means managing it with wisdom. Peace grows stronger when balance is respected, because imbalance is where fear often begins. By honoring both my limits and my strengths, I maintain steadiness. Another dimension of peace is purpose. Without purpose, anxiety multiplies because the mind fills the empty spaces with fear. But when I am connected to purpose, whether in my work, my relationships, or my personal growth, peace has an anchor. Purpose does not need to be grand. It can be as simple as caring for myself and supporting others. What matters is that it gives direction. Anxiety thrives in directionless spaces, but purpose provides a guiding light. With purpose, even uncertain days carry meaning, and meaning reduces fear. Alongside purpose, reflection deepens the process. Taking time to reflect on where I've been, what I've learned, and how I've grown reminds me that peace is not abstract, it is visible in my progress. Reflection turns experiences into lessons and lessons into wisdom. Without reflection, the anxious mind convinces me that nothing has changed, that I am stuck. But reflection proves otherwise. I can see how far I've come, even when I have farther to go. This recognition strengthens hope, and hope reinforces peace. Hope itself is one of the greatest allies against anxiety. Anxiety insists that the future holds danger. Hope reminds me that the future holds possibility. Hope does not deny difficulty, but insists that better is still possible. Peace grows when hope is alive, because hope shifts focus from fear of what could go wrong to faith in what could go right. And when my mind chooses hope, even in small ways, anxiety loses ground. Another essential piece of sustaining peace is honesty. For years, I tried to hide my anxiety, pretending to be calm while panic consumed me inside. That pretense only made things worse. But honesty with myself and with others has lifted a heavy burden. Admitting when I feel anxious, admitting when I need help, admitting when I am struggling, creates room for healing. Honesty allows me to receive support instead of carrying everything alone. And in that support, peace grows stronger. Support can come in many forms: a trusted friend who listens without judgment, a mentor who offers perspective, a professional who provides guidance, or even a community that shares similar struggles. An anxious mind often isolates itself, but connection is healing. Peace is nurtured in relationships that offer encouragement and understanding. Surrounding myself with those who lift me up reminds me that I do not have to walk this path alone. And the less alone I feel, the more peace takes root. As peace strengthens, my identity begins to change. I am no longer simply someone who suffers from anxiety. I am someone who practices peace, someone who embodies resilience, someone who grows through challenge. This new identity is not about denying my struggles. It is about redefining them. Anxiety may still exist, but it does not define me. What defines me is the strength to choose calm, the courage to continue forward, and the wisdom to trust myself in the process. In this redefined identity, I see myself more clearly. I no longer measure my worth by fear or by failure. I measure it by persistence, by progress, by the willingness to keep showing up. This clarity itself is peace, because it frees me from the endless comparisons and judgments that once consumed me. I no longer need to prove myself to an anxious voice. I need only to honor the truth of who I am. That truth is steady, that truth is resilient, and that truth is enough. And so, the journey continues, not toward perfection, but toward greater alignment with peace. Each day I practice consistency, structure, purpose, reflection, hope, honesty, and connection. Each day I strengthen resilience, deepen calm, and reinforce identity. These are not separate paths. They are one unified way of living. And the more I live this way, the less space anxiety has to dominate my mind. My anxious mind still exists, but it exists within a life where peace has become the greater force. This greater force does not mean I am untouched by worry, but it does mean that I face it with new strength. Where anxiety once dictated every thought, now I respond with awareness. I no longer allow my mind to run without direction. I guide it with intention. This intentional living is what keeps peace alive. Every day, I make choices that either strengthen anxiety or nurture calm. And by choosing calm again and again, I reinforce a path that my mind now naturally follows. One of the most powerful choices is focus. Anxiety scatters the mind in countless directions, demanding attention on everything at once. But peace grows when focus is narrowed. By directing my energy toward one task, one moment, one goal, I reduce overwhelm. This shift reminds me that I do not need to solve everything at once. I only need to take the next step. Focus is the practice of refusing distraction, of protecting attention, of giving my best to what is right in front of me. Through focus, peace deepens. Another important choice is consistency in routines. Routines provide a sense of predictability, and predictability reassures an anxious mind. When I wake at a steady time, eat mindfully, move my body, rest properly, and reflect regularly, my life develops order. This order does not eliminate challenges, but it reduces chaos. The more I maintain healthy routines, the more I teach my mind that stability is possible. In that stability, peace has space to grow. There is also a need for self-discipline in the way I consume information. An anxious mind feeds easily on negativity, on alarming news, on overwhelming stories. Peace requires discernment, choosing carefully what I allow into my mental space. When I set limits on harmful input and instead focus on what is uplifting, educational, or encouraging, I protect my mind from unnecessary fear. This discipline is not avoidance, it is wisdom. I cannot control all that exists in the world, but I can control what I repeatedly expose myself to, and by choosing wisely, I protect peace. Equally essential is the practice of acceptance. Anxiety often arises from resisting reality, from insisting that things should be different than they are. But peace grows when I accept life as it is, even when it is imperfect. Acceptance is not giving up, it is choosing to work with reality instead of against it. When I accept myself, my circumstances, and others as they are, I release the endless struggle of trying to force control. This release reduces tension and allows space for growth. Acceptance creates the freedom to move forward. Forging peace also involves courage, the courage to face what I fear rather than avoid it. Avoidance temporarily silences anxiety but strengthens it in the long run. Courage reduces its power. Each time I face a situation I once avoided, I prove to myself that I am capable. The more I practice courage, the more my confidence grows. And with each act of courage, Peace becomes less fragile and more enduring. Anxiety weakens because it no longer holds me hostage. I am not avoiding life, I am engaging with it fully. In this engagement with life, gratitude remains a constant anchor. Gratitude shifts attention away from what I lack and redirects it toward what I already have. The anxious mind searches endlessly for what is missing, but peace grows when I notice what is present. Writing down simple blessings, acknowledging daily victories, or simply pausing to appreciate moments of calm strengthens gratitude. Over time, gratitude transforms perspective. It teaches the mind to see abundance where it once saw scarcity, to see opportunity where it once saw threat. Gratitude and anxiety cannot occupy the same space fully. Gratitude naturally pushes fear aside. Relationships also play a defining role in sustaining peace. The anxious mind thrives in isolation, but peace thrives in connection. When I surround myself with people who encourage, listen, and uplift, my strength multiplies. Healthy relationships remind me that I am not alone, that others have faced similar struggles and endured. By sharing honestly, I lighten my burden. By listening to others, I gain perspective. In this exchange, peace deepens because community provides support that the anxious mind cannot generate alone. Boundaries within those relationships are equally critical. Not everyone contributes to peace, and part of growth is learning to distinguish which connections nourish and which connections drain. Choosing wisely whom to spend time with, what conversations to engage in, and where to place my energy helps protect my progress. Boundaries are not about shutting people out, they are about allowing only what supports peace to remain close. With boundaries, my mind no longer feels overrun by demands. It feels protected and respected. Over time, the combination of focus, routines, discipline, acceptance, courage, gratitude, connection, and boundaries creates a new normal. What was once a life ruled by fear transforms into a life guided by calm. Anxiety may still arise, but it no longer overwhelms me. Peace is no longer something I chase, it is something I live. This steady state is not perfection, but it is freedom. It is the freedom to live without being paralyzed by fear, the freedom to choose my actions without constant hesitation, the freedom to rest without guilt. And as peace becomes my normal state, I realize that it is not only for me. The more peace I cultivate, the more it influences those around me. My calm presence steadies others, my resilience inspires others, and my courage encourages others. In this way, peace is not only personal, it is shared. And when peace is shared, it expands even further, creating environments where anxiety no longer dominates and calm becomes the natural tone. As peace expands beyond myself and into the way I interact with others, I begin to notice how it changes my perspective on life as a whole. Where once the anxious mind exaggerated every problem, I now view those same situations through a calmer lens. I am not denying difficulty, but I am refusing to amplify it with unnecessary fear. This shift allows me to approach life with more clarity, more patience, and more strength than I ever believed possible. Clarity becomes one of the most valuable outcomes of this practice. Anxiety clouds the mind, filling it with endless questions and imagined outcomes. But peace clears the fog, allowing me to see what is actually in front of me. With clarity, decision-making becomes simpler, because I am no longer reacting to every anxious thought. I am responding to the reality of the moment. This ability to respond with clarity has transformed how I handle challenges. Problems that once felt overwhelming now feel manageable, because my focus is no longer distorted. Patience continues to be essential in this process. An anxious mind wants immediate results, but peace reminds me that growth requires time. When I give myself permission to move slowly, to heal at my own pace, I stop punishing myself for not being fast enough. Patience allows me to celebrate small progress instead of demanding perfection. This reduces pressure and creates space for steady improvement. Each day I practice patience, I strengthen my ability to remain calm even when life does not move on my preferred timeline. Strength, too, becomes more visible the longer I walk this path. Anxiety once convinced me that I was fragile, easily broken, unable to endure. But peace has revealed my strength in the way I continue forward despite fear, in the way I keep showing up for myself, in the way I refuse to surrender to despair. True strength is not loud or forceful, it is steady, persistent, and resilient. The more I practice peace, the more I uncover just how much strength I have carried all along. This strength allows me to step into situations I once avoided. For years, avoidance seemed safer than confrontation, but avoidance only reinforced my fears. Now, with peace guiding me, I no longer need to hide from what challenges me. I can walk into uncomfortable spaces, have difficult conversations, and face uncertain outcomes with steadiness. Each time I do this, I prove to myself that fear does not need to dictate my choices, and each time I prove this, the hold of anxiety weakens. Part of this process involves redefining success. The anxious mind measures success by external approval, by flawless performance, by constant achievement. But peace teaches a different definition. Success is not about being perfect, it is about being present. Success is choosing calm when panic calls, choosing persistence when quitting feels easier, choosing hope when despair tempts me. By redefining success in this way, I free myself from the impossible standards anxiety once set. I no longer chase validation from outside. I measure my progress by the peace I maintain inside. Gratitude continues to fuel this redefinition. Each time I acknowledge the progress I have made, the people who support me, and the opportunities I have, I weaken the anxious habit of focusing on lack. Gratitude grounds me in the truth that I have already survived so much and grown through it. It shifts my narrative from deficiency to abundance. The more I live in gratitude, the less space there is for anxiety to thrive. Gratitude is not just a feeling, it is a practice that actively protects my peace. Honesty also remains vital. Pretending to be unaffected, pretending that anxiety does not exist, pretending that I am always strong only deepens the struggle. Honesty with myself allows me to address what I feel without judgment. Honesty with others allows me to seek help and find connection. Honesty dismantles the illusion that I must carry everything alone. Each time I speak the truth about my struggles, I reduce their weight. Honesty may feel vulnerable, but it is the gateway to deeper healing. With honesty comes compassion for myself and for others. Anxiety often makes us critical, harsh, impatient. Peace nurtures compassion. I begin to treat myself with the same understanding I would offer a loved one. I forgive myself for setbacks, encourage myself in growth, and allow myself to rest without guilt. As I practice compassion toward myself, I find it easier to extend compassion to others. This not only improves my relationships, but also reinforces the calm I am building within. Compassion breaks the cycle of self-criticism and replaces it with a cycle of healing. As these practices deepen, I recognize the importance of consistency above all. Peace is not something I experience once and keep forever. It must be chosen daily. Each day brings new thoughts, new challenges, new emotions, but each day also brings a new chance to choose calm, clarity, patience, strength, gratitude, honesty, and compassion. Consistency transforms these choices into habits, and habits shape the mind. Over time, peace becomes the default instead of the exception. This daily practice assures me that even when anxiety reappears, I am not back at the beginning. Each effort I have made counts. Each choice I have repeated strengthens my foundation. I may face moments of struggle, but I face them with tools, awareness, and resilience that I did not have before. That is progress. That is transformation. And that is the reason peace continues to grow, even in the presence of fear. This growth, built step by step, teaches me that peace is not an occasional experience, but a lifestyle I am shaping every day. Where I once believed anxiety was permanent, I now see it as something that can be managed, reduced, and even transformed into fuel for growth. Each lesson along the way proves that I have more influence over my mind than I once imagined. The anxious mind does not have to remain my identity. It can become the starting point of my transformation. Transformation begins with awareness, but it deepens with intention. Awareness tells me what my patterns are, but intention guides how I respond to them. When I decide each morning to live with calm rather than panic, I am setting the direction for my entire day. When I close each evening with gratitude instead of worry, I reinforce the truth that peace is present even in small moments. Intention is the bridge between noticing my anxiety and replacing it with actions that restore calm. Alongside intention comes responsibility. Responsibility does not mean blaming myself for every anxious thought. It means recognizing that I play an active role in my healing. For years, I waited for anxiety to disappear on its own, but waiting only prolonged my suffering. When I finally accepted responsibility to practice routines, to speak kindly to myself, to make choices that supported peace, everything began to shift. Responsibility is empowering because it reminds me that while I cannot control every thought, I can control my response. That response is built on daily discipline. Discipline is often misunderstood as something harsh, but in truth, it is one of the greatest forms of self-respect. When I remain committed to my practices, resting, journaling, moving, breathing, I am showing myself that my peace is worth protecting. Discipline keeps me steady even when motivation fades. Without discipline, peace becomes inconsistent, appearing only in rare moments. With discipline, peace becomes a steady presence, no matter the circumstances. Consistency and discipline leads to trust. The more I show up for myself, the more I believe that I can. Trust in myself grows each time I honor my commitments, each time I face a fear and endure it, each time I refuse to give in to panic. Trust quiets anxiety's lies because evidence now contradicts them. Where anxiety once said I was incapable, trust proves that I am capable. And when trust is strong, peace settles more deeply because I no longer live in constant doubt. Another element that strengthens this journey is perspective. Anxiety narrows perspective until all I can see are threats. Peace widens perspective until I can see possibilities, growth, and opportunity even within challenges. Shifting perspective is not about denying reality, but about seeing it fully. Instead of focusing only on what could go wrong, I ask what I could learn, how I could grow, or what strength I might gain. This perspective does not erase difficulty, but transforms it into a space where peace can still exist. Support continues to be a vital part of sustaining this perspective. No matter how strong I become, connection with others adds stability. Sharing honestly with people I trust reminds me that I am not walking alone. Listening to the stories of others who have faced similar struggles inspires me to keep going. Support provides both encouragement and accountability, reinforcing the discipline I practice alone. With support, peace is no longer only my responsibility, it becomes a shared experience that strengthens everyone involved. Within these connections, boundaries remain essential. Boundaries prevent me from overextending myself and remind me that my energy is limited. Without them, I give too much, drain myself, and allow anxiety to rise again. By saying no when I need to, by stepping back when I am overwhelmed, I protect my capacity to stay calm. Boundaries are not rejection, they are respect. Respect for my own needs and respect for the fact that I cannot give from an empty place. With boundaries, my peace remains secure. Another crucial piece is self-reflection. Reflection allows me to recognize progress and refine my approach. Without reflection, I might miss the evidence that I am improving. By reviewing how I responded to triggers, how I practiced patience, how I chose gratitude, I see proof that peace is becoming stronger. Reflection also highlights where I still need growth. This balance of acknowledging progress while identifying areas for improvement keeps me motivated. Reflection transforms my journey into a clear story of growth rather than a blur of struggle. Through awareness, intention, responsibility, discipline, trust, perspective, support, boundaries, and reflection, I see that peace is no longer fragile. It is becoming deeply rooted, a steady anchor in my daily life. I am not claiming that anxiety never speaks. I am saying it no longer controls me. I now respond with practices, with tools, with resilience that I lacked before. The voice of fear still appears, but it no longer drowns out the voice of calm. And the more I practice, the more the calm voice grows stronger until it is the one guiding my life. In this space, I recognize that the anxious mind does not have to be my enemy. It has shown me where I need growth, where I need healing, where I need discipline. By responding to it with awareness and compassion, I have turned it into a teacher. That teaching has led me here to a place where peace feels possible, not as a temporary escape, but as a lasting way of being. And as I continue to choose these practices each day, I know that peace for my anxious mind is not only possible, it is becoming my reality. This reality continues to strengthen as I practice it daily. Each moment I choose calm instead of fear. Each time I respond with awareness instead of panic, I prove to myself that the anxious mind no longer has the same control it once did. The more evidence I gather through experience, the more unshakable my peace becomes. What once felt fragile now feels durable, something I can rely on even when life becomes uncertain. Durability is key because life will always bring challenges. The difference now is that I no longer enter those challenges with the assumption that I will be broken by them. Instead, I enter with the confidence that I can endure and learn. This does not mean difficulty disappears. It means difficulty no longer defines me. With each obstacle, I am reminded that the tools I have built, patience, discipline, gratitude, support, and reflection, are strong enough to carry me through. This assurance quiets anxiety before it has the chance to spiral. As this assurance grows, I begin to notice how it changes my overall outlook on the future. Anxiety once made the future feel threatening, filled with endless possibilities of failure or loss. But now, peace allows me to view the future as open, filled with possibilities for growth, connection, and meaning. This shift in outlook does not happen overnight. It develops gradually, reinforced by every calm response I practice in the present. Over time, the future stops being a source of dread and becomes a space where hope can exist. Hope, in turn, creates motivation. Motivation becomes easier to access when I believe in a better future. Anxiety once drained my energy by convincing me that nothing would improve. But peace restores motivation by reminding me that progress is possible, that growth is already happening, and that every small step matters. Motivation, guided by peace, is steady, not frantic. It pushes me forward with consistency rather than desperation. This steadiness makes the path sustainable, ensuring that I do not burn out, but instead continue building resilience day by day. Another change I notice is in my ability to enjoy the present. The anxious mind constantly drags attention into past regrets or future fears, but peace anchors me in what is happening now. I find myself more present in conversations, more engaged in simple activities, more open to small joys. Enjoying the present does not require everything to be perfect. It only requires my willingness to focus on what is here. And when I allow myself to fully live in the moment, peace becomes not just a practice, but an experience. Experiencing peace in the present also strengthens my relationships. When I am not consumed by anxiety, I have more patience to listen, more clarity to communicate, and more compassion to connect. My presence becomes more genuine because I am not distracted by constant worry. Others notice the difference not because I announce it, but because calm has a way of showing itself. In this way, the peace I cultivate internally radiates outward, improving the quality of my connections. This creates a cycle where healthier relationships further reinforce my calm. The process also deepens my self-respect. Anxiety often convinced me that I was weak, incapable, or flawed. But each step I take to build peace proves otherwise. Self-respect grows when I see the effort I have invested, when I acknowledge the discipline I have maintained, when I reflect on the growth I have achieved. This respect is not based on perfection, but on persistence. I respect myself because I have continued to show up, even in difficulty. This respect solidifies peace because I no longer measure my worth by anxiety's judgments. Self-respect leads to confidence, and confidence sustains peace. With confidence, I am less swayed by doubt and less shaken by fear. I no longer need external validation to feel secure, because my confidence is built on the evidence of my own resilience. Confidence does not mean I never question myself. It means I trust myself even when questions arise. This trust stabilizes my mind, keeping it from spiraling into panic. With confidence guiding me, peace feels less like something I hope for and more like something I own. Owning peace also changes how I set goals. In the past, anxiety turned goals into pressure, demanding immediate results and punishing me for setbacks. Now, peace allows me to set goals with patience and persistence. I view them as steps rather than ultimatums. Each goal becomes an opportunity for growth rather than a threat of failure. This approach reduces pressure while increasing progress because I can move forward consistently without being paralyzed by fear. Peace transforms ambition from something heavy into something empowering. In addition to goals, peace reshapes how I handle setbacks. Setbacks once felt like proof that I was failing, but now I view them as part of the process. Each setback becomes an opportunity to reassess, adjust, and continue. Instead of spiraling into self-blame, I use setbacks as reminders to practice patience and resilience. This approach keeps me moving forward, even when progress feels slow. Over time, setbacks lose their ability to create overwhelming fear because I know they are temporary and manageable. With this mindset, life itself feels more open. Anxiety narrowed my world, making me cautious and fearful of every decision. Peace expands it, encouraging me to take healthy risks, try new things, and embrace opportunities without being paralyzed by fear. This openness does not mean recklessness. It means I trust myself enough to explore, knowing that even if challenges arise, I can handle them. The more I live this way, the more I experience life fully, rather than watching it pass by through the lens of worry. And as I continue forward with openness, motivation, presence, respect, and confidence, I see clearly that the anxious mind no longer has to define me. It may still appear, but it no longer dictates my choices or my identity. Instead, I live with the steady truth that peace is possible, peace is real, and peace is mine to maintain. This truth carries me through each day with strength, clarity, and hope, ensuring that my journey continues toward greater calm and deeper resilience.